Have you ever heard a sentence so painful that it made you question every memory you've ever loved? Mine came from the only person I'd willingly give my life for. My 10-year-old son looked me straight in the eyes and quietly said, "Mom told me you're not my real dad." At first, I laughed, not because it was funny, because my mind refused to believe I'd actually heard those words. Then he asked another question. "If you're not my real father, why do you keep pretending?" That was the exact moment my world stopped. I had raised that little boy since the day he was born. I cut his umbilical cord. I stayed awake through fevers. I taught him how to ride a bike. I never missed a birthday, never missed a baseball game, never forgot a bedtime story. Yet somehow, one sentence from his mother erased 10 years of fatherhood in less than 10 seconds. I didn't know it then, but 30 days later, a courtroom, a DNA report, and one hidden hospital record would expose a truth nobody saw coming. Not my wife, not her lawyer, not even me. My name is Cole Anderson. I'm 39 years old. I own a residential construction company outside Austin, Texas. People think building houses is difficult. They're wrong. Building trust is much harder. Because once trust cracks, no amount of money can rebuild it. 10 years earlier, I believed I'd found the perfect life. Madison and I met at a charity fundraiser. She was funny, confident, beautiful without trying. She worked as a marketing manager for a healthcare company. I was still struggling to keep my small construction business alive. She believed in me before anyone else did. Or, at least I thought she did. After 2 years together, we got married beneath a huge oak tree overlooking Lady Bird Lake. 6 months later, she surprised me with the happiest news of my life. "I'm pregnant." I cried harder than she did. From that moment forward, everything I did had a purpose. Every overtime shift, every risky business decision, every sacrifice. It was all for my family. When our son Aiden was born, the nurse placed him in my arms before anyone else. He wrapped his tiny fingers around mine. I remember whispering, "I'm always going to protect you." I meant every word. From that day on, my life revolved around him. Saturday baseball, Sunday pancakes, camping trips, homework at the kitchen table, science fairs, Christmas mornings. Every important memory in my life had my son standing beside me. Not once, not for a single second, did I ever question he was mine. Why would I? He called me Dad. He looked for me whenever he got scared, when he had nightmares. He climbed into my bed. Not Madison's, mine. That's what fathers remember. The small moments, not the expensive ones. As the years passed, business finally took off. My company expanded from 4 employees to almost 60. We bought a larger home, took family vacations. Life looked perfect from the outside. Inside, small cracks were beginning to appear. Madison slowly became someone I barely recognized. She stopped asking about my day. Dinner became silent. Date nights disappeared. Whenever I suggested spending time together, she always had an excuse. "I'm tired. I'm busy. Maybe next weekend." Weeks turned into months. I convinced myself every marriage had difficult seasons. I worked even harder. Maybe if I earned more. Maybe if I spent more. Maybe if I surprised her with another vacation, things would return to normal. I was trying to fix a marriage. She had already started leaving it. Then one Tuesday evening, everything changed. Aiden usually exploded through the front door after school, talking nonstop, showing me drawings, asking if we could play catch before dinner. That afternoon, he quietly walked past me. No smile, no hug, straight upstairs. I looked at Madison. Is he okay? She didn't even look away from her phone. He's just growing up. Something felt wrong. A father's instincts rarely lie. After dinner, I knocked on Aiden's bedroom door. "You doing okay, buddy?" He nodded without looking up from his homework. "Can we talk?" He hesitated, then quietly answered, "Mom said I shouldn't." My heart skipped. "Why?" He finally looked at me. His eyes were red, like he'd been crying. He whispered, "She said, you're not my real dad." Silence. Complete silence. For a second, I honestly thought I was dreaming. "What did you say?" He repeated it, slower this time. "Mom said, my real dad is someone else." Every sound in the room disappeared. The television downstairs, the dishwasher, The air conditioner. Nothing existed except my son's frightened face. I forced myself to stay calm. Buddy, why would Mom tell you that? He wiped his eyes. Because I asked why you two keep fighting. And she said, the truth had to come out someday. I sat beside him. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Did she tell you who your real dad is? He slowly nodded. She said his name is Jason. Jason? The name meant nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. Then Aiden asked the question that broke my heart. If you're not my dad, are you going to leave me now? I wrapped my arms around him immediately. Listen to me. I don't care what anyone says. I will never stop being your father. He hugged me tighter than he ever had before. But deep inside, a terrible thought had already entered my mind. What if Madison wasn't lying? No, she had to be. She had to. Because if she wasn't, everything I believed about the last decade was built on a lie. Downstairs, I heard the front door close. Madison had just come home from the grocery store, still holding Aiden in my arms. I stood up, walked toward the staircase, and made one decision. Tonight, for the first time in our marriage, I wasn't going to avoid the truth, even if it destroyed my family. Madison walked into the kitchen carrying 2 grocery bags. She smiled the moment she saw me. It wasn't a guilty smile. It was the kind of smile people wear when they think everything is still under control. Hey, you're home early. I didn't answer. She immediately noticed something was wrong. Where's Aiden? Upstairs. She placed the groceries on the counter. What happened? I looked directly into her eyes. Aiden says you told him I'm not his real father. The smile disappeared. Instantly. For several seconds. She simply stared at me. Then she laughed. Not because it was funny. Because she needed time to think. He's a kid, Cole. You know how children misunderstand things. I shook my head. No. He repeated every word. You told him his real father's name is Jason. Her breathing became slower. She realized there was no escaping this conversation. Finally, she quietly sat down. I wasn't planning to tell him yet. Every muscle in my body tightened. What exactly weren't you planning to tell him? She folded her hands together. The truth. Those 5 letters felt heavier than anything I'd ever heard. Truth. I whispered. What truth? She looked at the floor. Jason and I dated before I met you. I know that. That's not all. Silence filled the kitchen. Then she finally said it. I wasn't completely sure who Aiden's biological father was. I honestly couldn't process what I'd just heard. What? She closed her eyes. When I found out I was pregnant. The timing was complicated. My heart started pounding. You married me. Without knowing. Tears formed in her eyes. I thought he was yours. You thought. I convinced myself. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because sometimes, pain comes out sounding like laughter. So for 10 years, you let me believe. She interrupted. I believed it too. Did you? Or was it simply easier? And for the first time, I wasn't just questioning the past. I realized someone might already be planning my future. Without me in it. The next 48 hours felt like 48 years. Every time I looked at Aiden, I saw the same little boy who used to jump into my arms after baseball practice. The same kid who insisted I check under his bed for monsters. The same child who once told his kindergarten teacher, my dad can fix anything. And now, I wasn't even sure if I had the right to call myself his father. Madison barely spoke to me. She acted like nothing had happened. Like telling a 10-year-old that the man who raised him wasn't his father was somehow normal. One evening I finally confronted her. Why did you add Jason Reynolds to Aiden's school records? She froze. Only for a second. Then she recovered. I thought it was the right thing. The right thing. She crossed her arms. If something ever happened to me, Aiden deserves to know his biological family. I stared at her. No. You made that decision for yourself. Not for him. She looked away. For the first time, she couldn't defend herself. 3 days later, the court approved the DNA test. Amanda Pierce arranged everything through an independent laboratory. No private clinic. No shortcuts. No room for manipulation. The technician smiled politely. It'll only take a few minutes. Aiden looked nervous. Will this hurt? I knelt beside him. Just a quick cheek swab. He nodded, then quietly whispered, if you're still my dad after this, can we get burgers? I smiled through the pain. You picked the restaurant. He grinned. Deal. The samples were collected. Mine. Aiden's. Everything was officially sealed. The lab estimated 7 business days. 7 days. It felt impossible. While we waited, Amanda kept investigating. Something about Madison's story bothered her. It doesn't add up. What doesn't? If she genuinely wasn't sure, why wait 10 years? Why not test Aiden when he was born? I had asked myself that same question. Amanda leaned forward. I think this is about more than paternity. The next morning, she called me. Come to my office. Her voice sounded different. Urgent. When I arrived, a thick folder was sitting on her desk. What is this? Hospital records. I frowned. How did you get them? Court subpoena. She opened the file. These are from St. David's Medical Center. The day Aiden was born. I expected medical charts. Instead, she pointed to a single signature. Recognize this? I looked closer. It was Madison's handwriting. Right beneath it, another signature. Jason Reynolds. I looked up. What? Amanda nodded. He was at the hospital. My heart nearly stopped. No, he couldn't have been. He was. The records show he signed in as a visitor 6 hours before you arrived. I couldn't believe it. Madison had always told me I was the first person to hold Aiden, that we shared that moment together. Another lie. Madison had lied, not only to me, but to our son. And suddenly, one terrifying question replaced every other. Why would a mother destroy her own child's family with a lie she knew wasn't true? I read the DNA report 3 times. Then I handed it to Madison. She didn't even look surprised. She simply closed her eyes. Amanda broke the silence. Mrs. Anderson, would you like to explain why you told your son his father wasn't his biological parent, when this report proves the exact opposite? Madison didn't answer immediately. Instead, she quietly whispered, I never thought he'd actually agree to the test. I stared at her. What? She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I thought you'd refuse. So this whole thing was a game. She shook her head. No, it was a mistake. Amanda leaned forward. No, a mistake happens once. You lied to your husband. You lied to your son. I want to talk about my hero. Some fathers around me smiled. Others adjusted their ties. Aiden continued. People say family is about blood. I don't think that's true. Family is about who stays. When I got scared, my dad stayed. When I got sick, my dad stayed. When people lied to me, my dad still stayed. He looked directly at me. My dad taught me something. The truth always wins. And real fathers never stop showing up. I couldn't hold back my tears. Neither could most of the parents in the room. After the ceremony, he ran over and hugged me. Dad, yeah, buddy. You'll still come to my baseball games when I'm 16? I laughed. I'll probably embarrass you. He grinned. You already do. We both laughed. For the first time in a very long time, life felt peaceful again. People often ask whether the DNA test changed my life. It did, but not because it proved I was Aiden's biological father. It changed my life because it reminded me that fatherhood isn't earned in a laboratory. It's earned one bedtime story, one scraped knee, one promise kept, at a time. The DNA report confirmed biology, but my son's heart had already decided who his father was years before anyone opened that envelope. If this story touched you, tell me in the comments. Do you believe being a real parent is about blood or about the person who never stops showing up? Sometimes, the strongest bond in a family isn't written in DNA. It's written in love.